we are facilitating the visual journey and the visual dream of what's on the page and what the director and the showrunners are asking of us. And just because you've seen a Western which was gritty and dirty, and that was that vision, that was that story.
This was a Western talking about people that were real. They existed. We were not copying, we were not modeling them exactly. We used their names, we used some of their story, but I was allowed some license. And it wasn't that my director came out and says, you have to use fashion. But just in the interview process and meeting with him and, how quickly he glazed over when I showed him the accurate pieces, but showing him a Prada or a Balmain jacket and he lit up like I knew what excited him. So the challenge my team and I had was from walking that line that I felt true to the period, but gave it a twist.
I had about 6 months to stew and think about it and do the research. And it was very scary to me. I had never done that time period before and was aware of it through just like paintings and watching films and history and such, but really knowing the nuts and bolts of it it allowed me a lot of time to sink my teeth in it, and it was great, and it made me feel really comfortable to sort of just start designing it.
You were also telling me that you actually came here to the Autry.
Yes.
And you saw some of the fabric.
Yes, I saw real fabric, but the coolest thing is in the script, I didn't make up, there's a guy who wears woolly chaps. I just wanted to feel what they felt like and to make sure I was doing it right. So there was a very nice person who, I told them what I was doing and they let me come and they opened a drawer and they had a real pair of woolly chaps and with white gloves on. She even let me, I did take my hand out of the glove and touch it, but just really quickly. But I could feel how heavy they were and it kind of confirmed everything that I had read. Like all of you guys have done the research. Like you read, and like reading about it is more informative than even the photographs and like the weight of everything. And like, if you've ever worn like a heavy coat all day, you're like, oh, I can't wait to take this off. All of their stuff was like that.
I took the show over from Anne Crabtree, who did it first season, who designed first. She did a lovely job, and she created a great foundation. And then I picked up for Moonshine Wars, which was the second season. Second season, Moonshine War was my favorite season, not because I did it, but I think the show really found its legs there and really came into its own. So Elmore Leonard had written the books, and I had been a big fan of Elmore Leonard even before I started Justified, and so I was sort of familiar with the characters and familiar with the story. And I did some research, and I sort of looked at what Anne did, and I kind of thought, okay, well, Margot Martindale is playing the matriarch, but she was written as the patriarch. So I thought perhaps she would have taken her dead husband's clothes and put those on when she got bigger and older, and she ascended more as the patriarch instead of the matriarch. And I remember our first fitting and a whole rack of men's clothes there. And she walked in and she sort of said, "These are weird." And I said, yeah, they are, because they're men's clothes. She ended up really embracing it, and I think it really suited her character. And they ended up being found items. I would rent some things, I would find some things at the Goodwill. Wherever they came from, they just sort of came from if they suited the character.
And the one really amazing thing I think we probably all experienced about working on Westerns is it's really nice to be out in the fresh air with the horses and the wranglers and it's just there's something just so organic for us. It was really nice. And that part is super enjoyable, even though, you have to have multiples of everything and everybody's stunted. And if it gets on a horse, any actor that got on a horse had to be stunted. Mm-hmm. So everything has to be multiple. Our stuntmen cast more people than our casting directors did. That's how many stunt people we had. But we had a fantastic stunt coordinator. We were very, very blessed, and a great wrangler leader. So everybody makes your job a little better if they're better at it. I want to share a story of Julie Weiss. When I was first moved back to Los Angeles in the late 80s, I was just starting my career. And I went to a guild event that had some costume designers up talking about their process. And one of them was Julie Weiss. It was the first day I ever met her. One or two other people had come up and talked about this and that, and then I do this and that. And Julie walks up, she sits down and says, I think of these ideas and mull them over in my head. I mean, she's like grabs us all. We all are like right there with her. And then I start to sketch, and I sketch and sketch, and I pick the fabric and I put it down there and I make it. And then they wear it and it's fabulous. And she goes, if you believe that, you're in the wrong business. And I love that story because she was telling us that it's not, no matter who you are, no matter how you're starting out or you've been doing it for 40 years, that you just work it till you get it out there. But it's not that easy.
We can all have the cleverest ideas in the world, but without our teams, without the Fabrizios, without the rental houses, without the research, without the brave person who's prepared to go in during the middle of a pandemic and remake something, without driving and picking up bears from places you've never been, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. It takes an army. It takes a committed army. It takes being able to phone a friend and say, please leave this fabric store open for us. They've just changed something. And none of us would be up on this stage if it wasn't for the extraordinary craftspeople and artists and suppliers who back us up each and every day. Absolutely.